Okay, so today in first period, we were working on this, looking at perpendicular bisectors, and then looking at medians. And we did not finish all of the odd problems, and I wanted to make sure you saw me do that. So we're about to do that in fourth period, and I'm videoing so that you can see it as well. And hang on one second for fourth period, folks. I know the screen is frozen. So unfreeze that. There. So we are picking up on page 8 of your packet. This is number 5 at the top of the page. It says if J is the centroid. So as soon as it tells me J is the centroid, they're telling me that all these segments that I see here are medians. And that whole 2-to-1 relationship, 2/3 to 1/3 relationship applies. Okay, so I was looking for, I wrote that down somewhere. Nope. Let's just go ahead and go back over that real quick. Basically, just as a reference, every median has a vertex on one side. It's not necessarily the left, and a midpoint on the other side. And it's a 2-to-1, excuse me, 2/3 to 1/3 relationship. So the side with the vertex between there and the centroid is 2/3 of the whole thing. So that means 2 parts out of 3. So I just divided this into 3 parts. So 2 parts out of 3 is over here. That's 2 parts out of 3. And over here, from the centroid to the midpoint, that's 1/3. Okay, which means that this has twice as much as this. Like if the whole thing was 15, this would be 5, this would be 5, this would be 5. So 10 between the vertex and the centroid is 2/3 of the whole thing, which is 15. The smaller part between the centroid and the midpoint is 1/3, 5 out of 15. All right, so that said, the way I like to write this, and I'm afraid I might have just run out of ink in my favorite pen for this because it's really nice and fine. So, is to put little numbers that show the parts. Okay, so in other words, DH is 51. 51 is the whole thing. So dividing that into 3 parts, 51 divided by 3 is 17. So that means I've got 17 twice over here. This is the bigger side, and once over here. Maybe I didn't run out of ink. Then on GF, if GF is the whole thing is 60, 60 divided into 3 parts is what? Each part is what? 60 divided by 3, 20. So this is the small part. The small part is always on the midpoint side. G is the midpoint. So this is 20. And then over here I have 20 and 20 again. And then finally EI, they also told me the whole thing here. EI is 57. If I divide 57 by 3, I get 19. So the small part here is 1 times 19, 1/3. And this is 2 times 19, 2 parts out of 3. I have some Microsoft Teams notifications popping up for no reason I understand. So sorry about that. All right, so now I have everything labeled. I might have all, yeah, I think I have all the information they want me to find. Once I've labeled everything and kind of broken down what all my pieces are, I can just do whatever they're asking me to find. They asked me for DJ, that's 17 plus 17, so that's 34. They asked me for JH, that's 17. They asked me for GJ, that's 20. They asked me for JF, that's 20 plus 20, so that's 40. They asked me for EJ, that's 19 plus 19, so that's 38. And they asked me for JI, which is 19. And so I'm done. Questions on that one? All right, moving on to number 7. You're going to be doing the evens for homework. Number 7 says G is the centroid, so that tells me all those segments are medians. And they give me information about BF, which is a median. and then AC, which is a side, and GE, which is a median. So let's just take what they gave us and see what it tells us. So if BF, which is a median, is 72, then that means 72 divided by 3 parts. We've got 2 parts out of 3 here, 2/3, and 1/3 here, 1 part out of 3 here. So BF 72 divided by 3 is 24. Okay, so 24 happens twice up here and once down here. 2 parts out of 3 are up here, 1 part out of 3 is down here. Okay, then they told me that AC, this whole side of the triangle, is 64. Remember that medians are made from midpoints. So this is a midpoint. So these are the same. So if AC is 64, 64 divided by 2 tells me how big each of these are. And last but not least, they tell me that GE is 27. Is that the smaller part or the bigger part of this median AE? GE is the smaller part. It's on the side with the midpoint, so that's the smaller part. So that's just 27. And then that means this side is twice as big. 2/3 is always twice as big as 1/3. So the side with 2 parts out of 3 is twice as big. So 27 and 27. And now I can answer their questions. They asked me for AF, that's 32. FC, also 32. BG is 24 plus 24, so that's 48. GF is 24. AG is 27 plus 27, which is 54. And AE is 27 times 3, so that's 81, I think. Is that right? Okay. Any questions on number 7? All right, on to number 9. Number 9 says if H is the centroid of BDF, DF, chord issues. Sorry. DF is 50. Okay, well, I'm just going to use the info as I get it. DF is 50. That's a side of the triangle. E is the midpoint, so that must be 25 and 25. Then they tell me CF is 42. CF is a median. So sides of the triangle I divide into 2 pieces. Medians I always divide into 3 pieces because of the 2/3, 1/3 rule. So CF is a median. I'm going to take 42 and divide by 3, and that gives me 14. So 14 over here, and 14 here, and 14 here. And then BH is 22. Okay, so I have to think about whether this is, I knew that this was the short part, so it's 1 part out of 3, so that was why it was just 14. BH is not the smaller part. HE would be the smaller part of this median. Okay, so this would be 1 part out of 3. This is 2 parts out of 3. So if they told me that BH, which is 2 parts out of 3, is 22, that's 2 parts, so each part must be 11. So this is 11 and 11, and this part over here is 11 also. So then HE is 11. EF is 25. HF is 28. DE is 25. CH is 14. And BE is 11 plus 11 plus 11, so that's what? 33. Good. Okay, so again, your homework is the evens on pages 5, 7, and 8. We have done all of the odds on pages 7 and 8. I'm going to go back to page 5. And what we did in class on page 5 at first was we did number 1, and then we just set up 3 and 5. This was perpendicular bisector. When we know we have a perpendicular bisector, basically it's like a line of symmetry. Everything's symmetrical on either side. So you're just going to set things equal to each other. All right, so that's what we did for 3 and 5. Let's go back and go ahead and solve those. So I've got, let's collect my x's on one side, and then collect my numbers on the other side. And I get 3x equals 27. Divide both sides by 3. And x is 9. Remember that I'm always saying when you find x, go back and look and see what you were supposed to find. Because look, I wasn't supposed to find x. I'm supposed to find the length of RS. I needed to find x. It's not like I wasn't supposed to find x, but that's not the end of the problem. Okay, so if x is 9, I have to go back up here and plug in 9 to find RS. So 4 times 9 plus 5 is 36 plus 5 is 41 is my answer. So this is my answer. I circled the x part just because I'm used to getting there and saying that's at the end, but it's not. Same thing happens in number 5. We're going to have to find x, and once we're finished finding x, we're going to go back and plug in. So first I'm going to collect my x's on one side. I moved them to the left. It's okay if you move them to the right. I move my numbers to the right, and I get 2x equals 28. So x is 14. Now they asked me for AB, which is not just one of these, it's both of these. But I could plug in, remember, these are the same. They're equal. That's the whole point of all of this, really. So I could plug into either one of these and then double it. So in other words, 5x minus 11. That's 5 times 14 minus 11. 5 times 14 is 70. Is that right? Okay, sound good? 70 minus 11 is 59. And if this is 59 and this is 59, then together AB is 59 plus 59, which is 118. And that's how I would get my final answer. And that's all the odds on the pages you need to look at. So you should be really set to do, you've got to do 2, 4, 6 on this page. Loving the pop-ups. 2, 4, 6 on this page, and then 2, 4, 6, 8 on the other page. So you only have 6 problems. Okay? So make sure you get those practiced over the weekend.